So I've had a few conversations lately in my DMs that really became the inspiration for this episode. So I had a couple people reach out and declare themselves as my super fans, which is very nice and very flattering. But essentially they're like, I've listened to all your podcast episodes. I've watched your YouTube channel. I've read your blogs. I've binged your Instagram content. I've watched you on this summit and this summit. I came to your webinar. I've essentially listened and watched and consumed like everything you have out there. I'm interested in working with you, but I'm worried that I won't learn anything new in HCA. Now, when someone reaches out to me showing any interest in HCA, the first thing I like to do is do a quick audit of their business. Essentially, I'll look at their social media. If they have a website, I might go through their email marketing funnel. I just want to get a sense of where they're at. And you would think that people who come to me who've like binged all my content and like telling me they've, have been following me for years, that it would be obvious. But in every single situation, and I'm speaking to about 3 or 4 situations, it was not apparent that they had consumed any of my content because nothing had actually been executed, right? They didn't have a niche. There was no content strategy. There was no optimized bio. There was no freebie. There was no program. There was literally nothing that if I just landed on their account, I would think that they, were coming to me for the first time. Okay. So this is a really good sign that you may be an info hoarder. And what you actually need to be successful, even when you're not ready, is to be an execution queen. You don't need more information from me. You actually need to do something. And it's actually a sign that you might actually need support with execution. And this is not me throwing shade. Not everyone is really good at executing on their own, right? Some people are very good at finding, free information, piecing together things, and then throwing it out there, executing and doing something with it. That's what I call the DIY person, but not everyone is a DIY person. And again, I'm not throwing shade. Some people just need a little bit more support. And just because you've consumed the information does not mean that you actually know how to execute it. Because again, I'm thinking of one person in particular. They were like, I've watched all your stuff on niching. What do you think of my niche statement? And it didn't hit any of the marks. Like it wasn't even close. And again, this is not me throwing shade. It just shows that this person, more than they need information, they actually need feedback and maybe support with execution. Okay. But this is a really, really important topic because just learning things doesn't mean that you're actually going to have success, right? If I were to read like 20 personal help books, but never actually execute or implement any of the tips or strategies taught in the books, I would not personally develop, right? I would not actually help myself. So let's do a quick little quiz, okay? Now, if you say yes to 3 or more, even 2 or more of these criteria, then we've got some work to do and we need to work more on execution. So number 1, you save 100 Instagram posts, but you don't implement a single one. So just navigate to your Instagram account, go to your little saved folder, see how many posts you've actually saved in there. And then ask yourself, why did I save these? And did I actually execute the tips taught in these posts? Okay. Number 2, you binge business podcasts, maybe like mine, folding laundry in your car, doing the dishes, but you never actually create content or pitch yourself to a client, a potential client. Okay. Number 3, you buy courses for when you're ready, but then that ready never comes. Number 4 is a big one. You constantly think, I don't know enough to work with clients. I need to learn more before I launch my business. And so you just focus on learning, even though you've spent $5,000 to $10,000 on some sort of holistic nutrition course, right? If you've done that, you know enough to help a person. I guarantee. Okay. And I know this because I did, right? And I'm not special. And looking back, when I did the functional diagnostic nutrition program, that was the main program that I did. And I just got out and worked with clients. And looking back, knowing what I know now, I would do things 100% differently. Like the things that I told people to do, the recommendations that I have, I would actually change all those based on everything I know now and all the research I've done. Yet even in my earliest stages as a coach, just following what I was taught in the FDN course, I helped people. Okay. Now, would I probably help people better today with more knowledge, more experience? Yeah, totally. But I still got a ton of success. Okay. Number 5, you've redone your program, your package, whatever it is that you're selling 8, 9, 12 plus times, but you've never actually pitched it and you've never sold a spot. Okay. Number 6, you say, I'm working on your business. I'm working on my business, but you spent 90% of that just consuming, right? When you're working on your business, you're like on YouTube, you're on Instagram. You're not actually getting out there and working on the only 2 things that matter when you're early in your business, which is sales and marketing. Okay. Number 7, you have this very organized Google Drive with all sorts of freebies, trainings, but you have no clients. Okay. So if you are nodding your head or you checked off 2, 3, or more of those, welcome, my friend, to Hoarders Anonymous, right? First rule, you actually don't need more information. You need more implementation. Now, this is why information hoarding is hurting you, okay? It's keeping you broke, it's keeping you overwhelmed, and it's making you think that you're not good enough, okay? So when we hoard information, it gives you a false sense of progress. Your brain is thinking learning equals doing. And it's not. You're tricking yourself. Okay. It's actually a way to avoid failure, right? You don't launch because you're scared it's not going to work. You don't launch because you're afraid to face rejection. You don't launch because you're worried that you're going to be judged. You don't launch because you're scared it's not going to be perfect. But the more information you take in, the more confused you get. Okay. You need simplicity, not another freebie, not another free training, not another blog post. Because truthfully, you do not build a business by thinking about it. Thinking about your business does nothing. Okay. This is a reason why it's really hard for me to be of help to somebody who hasn't actually gone out there and executed it. Okay. So as an example, in my program, HCA, I have people who are very new, right? And sometimes I will, have students requesting feedback on like an Instagram post that they haven't posted yet. And obviously I'm there to help them. I'm there to serve them. I'm going to give them feedback. But what would actually be more helpful is if they actually just posted the thing and then asked for feedback after the fact. Right? Because at least then we could get a sense of how it's connecting with the audience, right? Because until you actually execute and actually put something out there, all I can give you is theory. I can say, well, it could do this, it could do this, it could do this. But when we actually do something, when we put it out there, we get a data point. And a data point is a very valuable piece of information of which we can work from, because then we know why it worked or why it didn't work. And in business, that is invaluable. Okay. So extremely important that we put things out there. Okay. So how do you actually become an execution queen or king? Whatever. You can be a king and a queen. Okay. So number 1 is really scary, but you need to do it before you're ready. Okay. I've talked with a lot of newer coaches and I see this less, which is good, but I see people who are trying to get everything set up in their business before they actually put it out there. Okay. But really, you should put it out there before you have anything. And me personally, like I'm all about signature programs, right? I think you need a program, but obviously it takes time to build a signature program. So while you're building a signature program, are you just not going to sell? I don't recommend that. I recommend still pitching your services, even if it's a single consult, even if it's a package of sessions, even if it's a custom package, right? Like, even though ultimately that is not what I want to see you doing, in the beginning, it's important to just get scrappy, because just even speaking with people, having a coaching session with people, working with a client in all shapes and form helps build your confidence and actually helps you learn. Okay. Because the most important thing in being successful in your business is having good messaging. Yes, strategy matters, right? Yes, a lot of other things matter, but if you do not have good messaging, you will not sell. What is messaging? For those of you who don't know, it's just the communication that you use online. It's the posts that you write, it's the podcast episodes you record, it's your emails, it's your website, it's basically everything that you put out online. Messaging is just the clear communication that you use. Okay. How do you get good at messaging? You talk to your ideal client. I bet you have interacted with my content, correct? And you've probably felt like I'm in your head. Like, I'm sure I say certain things sometimes where you're like, whoa, I know exactly what she's talking about. You probably resonate with my content a lot, especially if you've been following me for a while. Okay. That is not by accident. It is because I speak with health coaches who are new to building their business every day, multiple times a day, whether within my Slack community, with my HCA students, whether on Instagram, constantly. I'm constantly interacting with the people I serve. So my messaging is a reflection of the conversations I'm having. So even if you don't have your signature program yet, you should still be out there marketing your services. You should still be out there trying to make money, and at the very minimum, speaking with people. Okay. So readiness is a feeling, but feelings follow action. They do not precede it. So you need to stop waiting for this elusive confidence, because confidence doesn't come from not doing the thing, right? For example, let's say you were going to start working out, like you've never worked with weights before. Well, I could go on YouTube, I could binge proper form, I could binge exercises, I could watch and watch and watch. But the first day I step into that gym, I am not going to feel confident. I'm going to feel like I don't belong. I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to feel clunky. I might injure myself, right? Like there's going to be so many things that do not make me feel confidence. I'm only going to feel confident going to the gym and going to the squat rack and doing a deadlift or a squat or a push press or whatever, a bench press, by doing it, right? So confidence will never happen before you do the thing. Okay. So here's a micro implementation tip. If you read something new, if you consume a piece of my content, right? Listen to a podcast episode, read an Instagram post, implement one piece of it within 24 hours. You don't need to do the whole thing that I'm telling you to do. Just pick one piece and implement it, even if it's scary, because it will feel scary. But that in itself will start to train yourself, your brain, to implement rather than just hoard information. Okay. Number 2, set boring, measurable, near-term goals. So execution queens measure actions, not outcomes. And yes, there is a place to measure outcomes, but when you're new, because it will take you time to get clear outcomes and to get clients, right? There is an investment of time before that typically happens for people. So measure actions, right? I'm going to post 3 times on Instagram this week. I'm going to DM 5 people on Facebook today. I'm going to create 1 sales asset, right? A post, an email before closing my laptop. I'm going to create 1 short form reel before noon, and I'm going to hit publish even if it sucks, right? So momentum actually matters more than mastery. Mastery will come with time of you doing something over and over and over again and committing to getting better, right? But in the meantime, we just want momentum, because momentum will lead to mastery if you continually moment. Don't know if that's a word. Okay. 3, choose one growth track for 90 days. Okay. So a lot of coaches fail because they're trying to build multiple strategies at once, and then they end up finishing nothing. Right. And I'm talking to myself here. I'm really bad at starting a lot of things and then never finishing them. So what I've had to get into the habit of doing is kind of work on 1 or 2 things at a time. So for you, I would actually recommend like taking 90 days and focusing on one thing at a time. Is that audience growth, right? Are you going to run ads and focus on growing your audience? Are you going to focus on improving your copywriting? Are you going to work on building your offer? Are you going to get some sales systems in place, right? And then ask yourself, is the thing I'm spending time on right now, is it aligned with this growth track? Okay. If not, it's a distraction disguised as productivity. Okay. Number 4, reduce inputs to increase output. So implementation requires subtraction and like taking things away. Okay. So don't listen to 20 different business podcasts. Listen to one, mine. Listen to mine, maybe one other one. Okay. But focus on, because, the more coaches you listen to, the more confused you will get, because everyone has different ways of doing something. And there is no right way and there is no wrong way. Every single business model can be successful with the correct inputs. Okay. So follow one way and commit to it. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, unsubscribe to all the other business podcasts. Okay. Just listen to mine and follow what I tell you to do. And for every episode that you listen to, take one thing from it and execute it. Okay. Unsubscribe from all the email lists you're on except mine, or except the one person of whom you want to follow. Okay. Stop saving content that you have no intention of executing. Okay. And replace 30 minutes of scrolling with 30 minutes of publishing. Okay. This is a big one. A lot of us are like, oh, content is so time consuming. I don't have time for it. Yet a lot of us are scrolling Instagram, scrolling Facebook, scrolling TikTok, Threads, YouTube, whatever the fuck it is, for hours a day. And you can actually get those analytics from your smartphone. See how much time a day you're spending on social media consuming content. Stop consuming and start publishing. Okay. Start putting content out there. Okay. Next, you want to create a weekly visibility ritual. Okay. This is the system that replaces random when I feel inspired posting. Okay. You are never going to feel inspired every time you post. I come to work some weeks and I'm like, I don't want to be here, yet I'm still showing up. Okay. I show up pretty much every single day because this is what I do. This business isn't a hobby. I have an adult business. Okay. So that requires that I am visible in some way, shape, or form every single day. Okay. So create a ritual. And that might be that, you choose Monday to show up on your stories and teach something. Okay. Even if you don't get the engagement that you want. Maybe on Wednesday, you put a reel out there that shifts a belief or misconception. Maybe on Fridays, every Friday, you talk about your offer and you tell people how to enroll, even if that's a single session with you. Okay. And then try to have 5 to 10 genuine DM conversations every day, right? This is how consistency becomes a habit, right? And this is how you create discipline. Okay. Discipline is required to do this type of work because you do not have a boss. There is no one saying, good job, Susie. Good job, Jamie, right? There's no one saying that. So this is how consistency becomes habit rather than this like big heroic effort, because you are going to have to build these habits and you are going to have to build discipline in order to be successful online. And I understand that, a big reason why people probably become info hoarders is because it's scary to show up. It's scary to be visible. But if you want to market your services in the coaching practitioner space online, you have to learn how to get visible. You have to get good at being consistent at content. If you can't do those things, then this industry is not for you, period. Right? So you need to create discipline around these things in order to stop being an info hoarder and start being an execution queen. Okay. Now you need to start building accountability into your environment. So willpower is, I think, overrated. And I think we only really have so much willpower. Willpower works for a little bit and then it gets really exhausting, but having infrastructure will win every time. So for example, if you really struggle to execute, then you might require a coach, right? A coach who reviews your work and gives you correction, right? Because a lot of times we get the information, but our brain interprets it in a way that creates an output that isn't effective. And again, I see this all the time. People who have attended so many of my events, who've consumed so much of my content, yet their niche is not good, right? Because their brain's just not getting it. And that's okay. A lot of us actually require having a coach, right? Or maybe it's a co-working session that allows you to finish content in real time. So for example, we have co-working sessions in Health Coach Accelerator where you can show up and work with the group. And so you're going to be there for the hour and you're actually going to get shit done, right? So you may require a container where you're actually expected to show up and make progress and not just watch videos, right? This is why Health Coach Accelerator students move way faster than the DIY crowd, even when they feel like they're going slow. Something that I hear on every single coaching call that I do is that I'm behind. I'm moving slow. I'm behind. People like to say this all the time, but what they don't realize is just by being in HCA, they are moving like at a rapid pace, even when it feels slow. So I was saying this to one of my students the other day. She's like, oh, I just feel like I'm taking so much time and I'm moving so slow. And what I had to tell her, I was like, look, you've put this thing, and this thing in place into your business. Okay. You're 6 months into your business. These are things that I did not have into my business till the 3rd year because I was DIYing it. Right. So it just may be that the key to you executing is actually working with a coach or being in a program. Okay. Number 7, imperfectionism. Execute imperfectly. Okay. Perfection is really just a hiding place, right? It's just a way to not make progress. It's a way to hide, right? Nothing is perfect. I don't believe perfection exists, but the only way to get better is to do it, right? So visible output creates data, data creates refinement, and refinement creates clients. So if you want results, you need to publish things that are 80% done. Okay, this is how execution queens take ground faster than perfectionists. Perfectionism is honestly the killer of your business because no matter how perfect you want to make something, it will never be perfect. And people are going to judge you no matter how good you think it is. Okay. Just by putting yourself out there online, people are going to judge you. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We're just judgers. It's what we do. It's a part of our evolution. It's a part of our survival mechanism, right? So a lot of times we are trying to be perfect because we're afraid of judgment. But people are going to judge you whether you do it or not. So you might as well just do the thing. So you just have to get okay with not having things be perfect. And this is actually a common thread I have with a specific student that I have in mind. I was looking at her Instagram content and I was like, oh my God, these videos are so well done. Like they were so nicely edited. They were nicely captioned. They were really well shot. And meanwhile, she's telling me that it's taking her like 4 hours to make a video. And I was like, oh my God, you need to get good. You need to start posting more average content. Like what matters is the message. And yes, if you're going to make a video, have good lighting, have good audio, but that's as simple as recording a video outside. And if you're on my YouTube channel right now, using the mic from a $10 pair of earbuds. I literally got these at the gas station. This is the mic I use to record my reels. That's all you need. As long as you have good lighting, good audio, and you want to caption it, but seriously, just use the Instagram captions. That's all that matters. What matters is the message and that you put the message out consistently, right? A lot of my content is pretty average, right? But I consistently put it out there so that the message keeps hitting the people that matter, okay? Now, the real reason that people don't execute usually has to do with self-trust. I don't believe it's laziness, right? People don't launch because they don't trust themselves to handle it if it flops, right? You're waiting for more info because you don't feel safe putting yourself out there. But again, the only way to gain that confidence that feels good is to do the thing while still being unsure. Okay. I've used this example before, but when I learned to mountain bike, I was in my late 20s and it was incredibly hard. Mountain biking where I live, where we have steep, techie trails, is incredibly challenging. And I'm a really athletic person. I'm an outdoorsy person. And my first 3 seasons of mountain biking, all I did was fall and hurt myself and cry behind trees. I was terrified and I was so frustrated because I was like, when does it actually become fun? But, luckily, my late 20s, early 30s, I don't think I would learn to mountain bike in my 40s because at this point I'm just like, I don't want to hurt myself. But back then I was more open to, hurting myself here and there. But it was really fucking hard. And it didn't matter that I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on technique. I actually had to get out and do it. And the whole 3 seasons that I did it, I did not feel comfortable. I did not feel safe. Okay. I cried a lot. I felt stupid. I wanted to give up, but I really liked the idea of being a mountain biker. I wanted to do it. I thought I could go to cool places. A lot of my friends did it. So I stuck with it. And that confidence came in my fourth season. And now, I can get on a mountain bike and handle basically any trail, right? I'm not an expert mountain biker, but I do pretty good. But the only way I was able to master mountain biking was from committing to learning it and doing it badly for a very long time. Okay. And so this is why a program like Health Coach Accelerator exists, right? It's not a library of videos that you just watch and forget. It's coaching, feedback, review, structure, accountability, and momentum, right? You don't just learn, you actually build the business and you get a ton of feedback, right? You choose your niche, you create your offer, you launch your program, you get your messaging dialed in, you get clients coming in. Okay. So if you believe that you are just hoarding information, you're going to have to make a first very uncomfortable step. You're going to have to put yourself out there in some way, shape, or form. Start slow, right? I was telling a student the other day who was, afraid to kind of make videos on Instagram. I was like, hey, let's just start slow, right? Like, why not just make some B-roll reels? So B-roll reels are the ones where you record yourself doing something for like 7 to 10 seconds. I'm like, take a video of yourself walking, take a video of you drinking coffee, reading a book. Just start taking videos of yourself where you're not actually speaking on camera, but that in itself will help you start to get used to being out there and being on camera. And understand that you're going to have to accept that the first 6 to 12 months of your business is going to be a lot of output and a lot less input. And that is just a part of it. It takes time to establish a business, to create authority, to create trust, right? You're just a talking head on the internet. Nobody knows who the fuck you are. You're asking for you're asking for strangers to give you their credit card. You have to be out there every single day in some way, shape, or form. That is what you need to do to build a business. And I realize that people have families and full-time jobs and it's really hard, but you're going to have to make sacrifices and you're going to be exhausted, unfortunately, right? Because if you have a full-time job, you're going to have to make time in the evenings, in the mornings, and on weekends to build your business and create visibility and put yourself out there. And it's going to be hard, but you don't get it any other way. You're never going to have the business by not doing the thing. Okay. So yeah, maybe a little bit of like harsh reality that I didn't actually mean to get into today, but it's just, there are so many people out there that I have conversations with that are literally fighting for their limitations, right? I'm telling them how to do things, but they're giving me a million excuses why they can't do it, right? And you will never build the business if you don't put yourself out there. And I realize that some people have very limited amount of time, but you're going to have to find a way to make time. You just are. And it's going to be really hard and there's going to be sacrifice, but I guarantee you've done something like this before. A lot of us have gone to college, university, we worked jobs while going to college and we were exhausted and we had to use all our spare time to study, to do whatever. We've done hard things before. So you're just going to have to do a hard thing again. Okay. All right, my friend, if you were stuck in the learning loop, again, it's probably not because you're lazy. It's because deep down, you're scared. You're afraid to put your thing out there and you're afraid that you're going to hear crickets, which you will. You're afraid you'll suck. You're afraid people will judge you. And I get that because I've been there. I've ugly cried on my bathroom floor, been there. But your dream business, it doesn't come from perfect strategy. It comes from the courage to completely suck at it at first. Have the courage to suck. All right, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wealthy Coach podcast. I will see you next Monday, same time, same place, where I help you become a wealthy AF.